Today's episode is brought to you by HERdacity. HERdacity is a nonprofit inspiring confidence in women to achieve their professional goals. For resources, networking opportunities, and a strong community of women, visit HERdacity.org to learn more.
Welcome to HERdacious, a podcast for audacious women.
Warmest greetings to you all. Welcome to HERdacious, the podcast for audacious women looking to get ahead in their careers and maybe needing a little support along the way. My name's Lorelei. I am your host today, and I am really excited to be talking about flexing your communication style at work. Joining me in this conversation is the powerhouse duo behind the Prowess Project, a job marketplace for women returning to the workforce. Miss Ashley Connell and Leah Steinkirch. Hey, y'all.
Hey there. Thank you so much for having us.
Hello. We're so happy to be here.
I'm really pleased you two took the time to join us in this conversation today. Learning how to flex our communication styles amongst our work peers, especially in the digital realm, is a new, fascinating challenge that I think we all could take some time to learn about. So I'm really excited to learn about how we can start flexing these communication muscles at work. When we're talking about flexing our communication style at work, what the hell does that mean?
So if we're thinking about how we present ourselves, and this is one of my favorite topics of conversations, because I think we've all been there where we're feeling like we've been put on the spot, or how someone has been speaking to us triggers all kinds of things inside of us. So knowing what our communication style is lets us be able to pause before we react. And when we understand how we may give feedback or how we take it in, that then can prevent any kind of discomfort in how we work with others, other people taking things too personally. I think we can all think of that situation where even if it's an email that we've gotten, that we know how we will interpret that with it's very short and to the point. Our first reaction is, wow, I think they're angry with me. But it could be, if we knew more about their communication style, that's their personality type, is very straightforward, to the point, and that's how they communicate.
Since the Prowess Project is specifically a women's returnship program, tell me a little bit more about why y'all invested time in understanding women's ability to flex their communication style.
I love this question because it puts women's natural skills in the spotlight. Women are 89% more likely to show emotional intelligence, which means relating to other people in the workforce, than men on a regular basis.
What?
Yeah. Crazy, huh?
That's a big number.
It's a massive number, and it's just our natural skills. But this is what happens, and this is what we realized when we were going out and asking women who wanted to return to the workforce what their barriers were to reenter. And they said that they felt like they lost all of these skills by taking time off and being a caregiver. But what we realized was, sure, they may not be up to speed on all of the latest tools, but they were gaining so many more emotional intelligence skills, increasing their communication, their negotiation, their sense to feel other people's emotions. As a caregiver, that's your job. So now these women have those skills, through the roof. We want to utilize those, put those on display for women to get them jobs.
I really want to come back to the emotional intelligence topic, but I want to ask you about your preferred tool or assessment that you like to utilize to understand people's communication styles. I assume that you have a preferred tool.
Yes, Lorelei. The one that we like to use at Prowess is the DISC personality indicator. We also use the VARC to look at how people like to learn information. There's the Enneagram, there's the Myers-Briggs. We all have ones that we've used in our past experience. And the reason why at Prowess that we use the DISC is what we're really looking at is getting to know someone's personality style. And it's not really, there's not a good or a bad one, but again, it's helping women understand where they're coming from. When people take this assessment in particular, we get a lot of, oh, that's why I reacted that way, or that's why I didn't really gel with that teammate in the past. Or if it is even a woman in a returnship, they start to understand their own dynamics with people that they've been encountering. And then you can start to realize when you understand that, like for myself, I'm much more in the conscientious personality style. I then start to realize that where I have been maybe judging myself a little bit of always overanalyzing and being overly critical of how I'm viewed, actually, that's an asset that I have. We're trying to take those parts of us that we may see hasn't always fit in and then realize where do they work best. And so the DISC personality indicators helps us understand what kind of teams women may work best on and who they could really complement in the work setting.
And share with us those primary personality traits real quick from DISC.
Sure. There's dominant, which is your direct, your doer. There is the influential, that's your inspiration personality style. A lot of times that's the thought leader. You have conscientious or the compliant personality, and then steadiness, which is that person who's kind of looking at the overall big picture and is really great at communicating across different personality types.
Excellent. Thank you. Now I'm really excited to talk about the emotional intelligence piece. Why is understanding your emotional intelligence and leveraging that skill important?
This is one of the leading factors that we see as a benefit women when they're returning into the workforce. We like to take what has been deemed as the soft skills and move that up to the top of the reasons why someone might be the best fit for a job. We really focus in how to find these skills, whether that is your own reflection and journaling and exercise we're giving, or we're also encouraging women to go out and meet with other people and get the feedback directly, kind of in a 360 interview type situation, so that they then are hearing it from both what they know of themselves and how other people view them. And then again, how do you then represent all of that on your resume and bring it to the forefront when you're in a job interview? These are things I hear a lot of people say, I'm really rusty at this. I haven't interviewed in a long time. Or even a lot of women who have taken part-time stuff as they've moved through their returning to a full-time career. They weren't interviewing for that job. It was something a friend or a past coworker asked them to take on, a small project. So it's really great when they then can go to someone and help identify really what those emotional intelligence skills are.
And I think one other thing that's so great about emotional intelligence and just understanding what personality type you are and the other people that you're working with is that gives you power and knowledge. At the end of the day, that enables you to know, oh, okay, he just came at me very strong. That doesn't mean he's mad. What that actually means is he's got a million different things going on and he just wants to check things off the list. So now I'm no longer angry and I'm no longer wondering what he meant by that. I now have that power and I know, and we have a better work relationship. And I think that that's really key in working together as a team.
Since y'all work primarily with women at the Prowess Project, is there a specific area of emotional intelligence where women excel?
As Ashley mentioned before in the statistics, across the parameters of emotional intelligence, women do tend to have great strengths in many of the areas. Where we see women wanting to utilize their emotional intelligence is their skills in problem solving, working in being able to take a chaotic situation and stay calm. And again, if you reflect on our jobs as caregivers, our jobs as just being the nurturing one in a relationship, a lot of times what we go to our female counterparts for, more often than men, is to have a difficult conversation with a counterpart that maybe isn't pulling their weight. We ask them to stay calmer in a crisis. They're the ones who can handle all the tiny little tasks that are coming at you. And so they're the ones that we may not worry about overloading because we know they have those multitasking skills. Women are just generally seen as the ones who can carry all the weight. Just, people don't mind adding, again, that extra stuff on their plate. And so those are the things that when we're working through certifications, we help them highlight that I'm really great at problem solving. I'm really great at staying focused on the big picture when there's a lot of things coming at me at once. I'm really great at having a difficult conversation, especially in a chaotic situation.
And I think it's really important to add that we're not just coaching the talent on this, but also hiring managers. Because it's really important to think through when you are hiring someone, oftentimes you can teach a skill. Oftentimes it's harder or it takes longer to teach an emotional intelligence skill. Therefore, you want to prioritize these quote unquote soft skills when you're in the hiring process. So I'm talking to hiring managers about this all the time.
What an excellent point to bring up. When we bring all these soft skills that are natural talents to us, that's something that you really don't have to train people in. But I can train somebody how to type or file or use Excel or whatnot. But learning how to communicate effectively, oh man.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It takes work. And if we already have these natural skills, let's utilize them and let's shout it to the rooftops. And so I think it's really, really important for us to be talking to people who are doing the hiring to ask specific questions that touch on these different emotional intelligence with examples. I also think that that's a way that talent can stand out in the interview process. Give examples. Start with, I'm a great problem solver, and here's an example, and how that helped the team ideally save or make money. But even if not, any sort of data would help.
Excellent. So to help our show, we're going to take a quick sponsor break.
Hi, Barbie here from Moonray, husband and wife indie pop duo. If you enjoy the intro music, we invite you to listen to our debut EP, Honeymoon, streaming now on all platforms. Visit www.moonray-music.com for more.
And we're back with Leah and Ashley of the Prowess Project. Ladies, share with us some differing examples of these behavior styles in the workplace and how they mesh.
What I love about this is we're giving a real life example of a time that Leah and I worked together on a project. And I think everyone may laugh on the other end because Leah is 100%, she dots all I's, crosses all T's, and I'm kind of the wild card, which I'm working on. But she appreciates that about me, and I definitely appreciate that about her. But yeah, let's hop into Leah, just a recent example of us trying to figure out a project that we actually just did a blog on.
Okay.
We had a project coming up that was advancing our technology within our team, and I was responsible for putting together the first version of the portal. I was going to pass it over to Ashley to give us some feedbacks on the next things that she wanted us to do to go along with branding, make sure it was functional for the client. So I sent her the link and was ready to get her feedback. And what I got back was a Word document that was, first thing I saw was it was 4 pages long, all kinds of comments. And I thought, oh my gosh, she hates everything that I just spent my entire weekend working on. This is miserable. But as I slowed down, and my brain doesn't work in Word documents. I will straight up tell you that my conscientious personality style really likes Excel. I like where I can put a little checkbox. I like where I can sort it and rearrange it. And so as I'm going through Ashley's Word document, I'm realizing, oh, these are actually really valuable questions. Oh, this is great. Oh, you know what? I really didn't set this up properly for her. This would be better if I had done it in a different format. So all of a sudden I start trying to make it work better for a different format. But then I realize Ashley likes it in Word. So let me try and work with that. So now I've just spent 2 hours and I sent her a note back saying, hey, here's what I think you asked me for. But before I spend any more time, can you just give me some feedback? So then Ashley gets my document back that's lit up like a Christmas tree. It's a million different colors and a million different pop-up boxes asking questions. And I'm sure I was making her crazy.
I love this so much because in no way is she making me crazy. So Leah has been fantastic about organizing the entire technology project as a whole. And she sent over this document for me to review. God, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. And I had been so slammed with all these different deadlines and whatnot that I was finally getting to it. I had to mark off 2 hours in my day that I was just going to focus on Leah's document. Well, my inspirational brain, I look at it and my immediate thought is, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I'm looking through it. I'm like, oh, but what about this idea? And so then I have a note and 3 different pop-up ideas of how we can progress prowess in our technology. And then, oh, think about this idea. And hey, Leah, did you mean this or did you mean this? If you meant this, and it becomes this train wreck of an outline, because that's how my brain thinks in outlines and in stories of 4 different ways that our entire company could go create revenue and what we should go do next. Or really, it was asking Leah what we should go do next. So I completely appreciate that she saw that and was like, whoa, I just wanted a yeah or no. It was like, was this good or not? And I gave her 4 business plans.
Right. So that was your wild card in action.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
her conscientious style was like, hold on, this is not organized. She's tearing down everything I created.
Exactly. And it could not have been more opposite. I was flying high, being like, oh my God, this is amazing. We're making it happen. We're changing the world for women in the workplace everywhere. Amazing.
That's such a wonderful example because y'all were both able to rely on the information you knew about each other in your personality assessments and understanding each other's strengths and communication styles. So, how does understanding your workplace peers' communication styles and personality strengths benefit productivity at work, kind of in the same way that you just really illustrated for us?
So I'm going to take this especially from where we are all sitting right now in the remote world. By understanding how Ashley works, that she is an inspirational personality style, if I would take a step back from that document and I realize I'm not seeing her face, I'm not hearing her, oh, this is amazing, because she's right down the hall anymore, right? We're all separated by our computers now. By knowing who she is, I can take a step back, think about what are the best tools to digest all this information? What's the most efficient way to do it? And then stop the inner voices, stop my second guessing, and speed up my own time to deliver the results on her questions. So I can then also reflect back on what are the tools that we've previously outlined. And the long story short of that whole scenario is I should have used Trello, which we had agreed upon in the very first place from the beginning, that is our middle ground. And I know that. That's where knowing someone's communication style, understanding the way in which you get feedback can lead straight to an increase in productivity. You can take out the personal part of it, the second guessing, and go straight to the productivity by knowing what tools you're supposed to use, the best way they like to get information, and focusing on that main objective and sticking to what you agree to do in the first place.
And I think it's really important too. So, had Leah taken all my information and put it in an Excel doc so that she could understand it, then take it out of the Excel doc and put it back into a Word doc so that I could better understand it. I mean, what a waste of time that would
Yeah.
have been. And just us talking about it and talking through it, I'm happy, honestly, to put it in an Excel doc. I just wasn't even thinking and just immediately went to my Word doc. And I think what's really important when you're asking someone for feedback is not only saying, hey, can you look over this, but also what format you want that feedback in to be most efficient. So I just went to my natural, the Word doc, whereas Leah would have been so much more efficient and successful had I put it in Excel, and I would have been happy to.
Leah, earlier you mentioned having Trello as a middle ground with Ashley and how y'all can best communicate with one another. How can workforce people find middle grounds with each other as far as communicating in their preferred styles?
The one area that I really want to make sure we hit on is empathy. That when we can look at things from other people's perspectives, that is where we can demonstrate emotional intelligence. And it also relates to the idea that clear is kind. This is an element in Brene Brown's work that I really like. And I think that when we utilize this, both from how we communicate with other people and how we're taking in information, that when we link back to how does this look from someone else's perspective, that's when we can best find the ways to be productive in the workplace and best find the tools in that middle ground. And we're always taking that into consideration.
And I think it's important when you are talking to your coworkers about this, explaining where you're giving. I mean, this needs to be a give and take. This oftentimes needs to be a compromise on what tool or what format or what have you. And flexing communication styles and work styles doesn't mean you're always the person to flex. What it does mean is you having the ability to and even coaching others on the importance of it.
Right. I was going to ask you, Leah kind of mentioned that women have a natural ability to empathize. And that makes me infer that women are more automatically using their empathetic emotional intelligence in the workplace. That seems kind of unfair if the onus is always on the woman to be more empathetic in every workplace situation.
I completely agree. And I think the reason why it is so unfair is because it's undervalued. I think that being empathetic is the North Star when it comes to finding someone to work for you.
Damn.
Mic drop.
Like that was totally unexpected. Oh my goodness. Hear that, ladies? You're all empathetic badasses, but you don't have to do all the work yourself.
Absolutely not. But I also think, again, I keep thinking about it from the hiring manager standpoint. And this is one thing that Prowess is going to champion for forever is, hey, hiring managers, think about who you're hiring, think about the people you're working with, and think about who is going to bring a better vibe. I mean, for lack of better terms. And oftentimes it's the people who are empathetic and it's the people who are thinking about others, and that needs to be rewarded.
Lorelei, if I can brag on Ashley here for 1 second, one thing that she does really well in working together is because I have 2 kids at home that we're trying to do remote learning.
Oh, gosh.
And Ashley doesn't have kids. And we get on a call every morning to do a 15-minute huddle. That is something that in our communication styles, we know the best way to do it is to we have a list in Slack. We both add things to it all day long, but we get on every morning for 15 minutes. But the first thing Ashley will do is she checks in with me and says, how are you this morning? And some days I will say, well, internet's down for the kids. And so they're panicking. And she will say, okay, I only have 3 priorities. And then we can get off the phone. So she is, from that empathetic standpoint, and she didn't go into a big song and dance. It was just, where are you? What do you need? Here's my priorities. And then we can get off the phone. Other days, we may both enjoy our coffee and have a nice long chat because that's where we both are. So again, I think that that's something women do naturally. Ashley, I think, is exceptional in that skill, in that she's always checking in with people of where you are. I hear her do it all the time. And that's something that, especially, like I said, right now in the remote world, that's something that we can do to show, it's kindness to show that person, I really want to know who you are as a person and understand what's going to make us most productive today.
I love that.
Wow, Leah.
Oh, y'all. Y'all are so cute
Well,
together.
it's true.
Thank you.
All right, fam. What could make our work communication styles more efficient? How do we build that efficiency in the huge spectrum of communication styles that each of us brings to the table?
So the 3 areas that we focus on at Prowess Project is 1, establishing the learning and communication styles that takes precedent. So whether that's the person who's leading the team or the way in which that project is going to be driven to completion. The next one is establishing the tools for the workflow and communication that can flex between the function and the personality styles that are involved. So making sure you know, is that the Word document or is that Excel? Is this Trello or is this a quick phone call? We don't need a big plan. What's still going to be the most efficient? And then lastly, encouraging conversation when the behavior style is out of alignment. So making sure that you can resolve any kind of issues quickly. And this is by having consistent practices that you are going to address things and not let them simmer.
So Leah really nailed it there. And one thing that I would like to share with the audience is these are things that you can talk to your team about as soon as you start the job. If you were to come in and say, hey, these are the 3 ways that I want to help this team be efficient and effective, do we already have these in place? If so, fantastic, can't wait to jump on board. If not, hey, let's get it started. Since this comes naturally to women anyway, I think that it's really important to take those feelings, those innate feelings that we have, and turn it into business actionable to-dos. I just love that, Leah. I love that you gave 3 very actionable things for this audience to go talk to their teams about to be more efficient. And it doesn't matter if you're the team lead. Go and own that. Own that you can bring all of this value to the team by saying, hey, let's shave off a ton of confusion, a ton of time, and ultimately will save us a ton of money by focusing on these 3 things and making them the best that they can possibly be.
Help me fully understand, because I want to mirror back what I think I'm hearing you say. First and foremost, you need to understand your communication style, how you operate as a professional. Second, you need to effectively communicate that style to your teammates, to your work peers. And third, you create boundaries within the workspace so that everyone has fairly defined modes of operation. correct?
Fairly defined modes of operation to work together. That's how I would clarify that last bit. Otherwise, bravo.
Thank you. All right, all right. Lastly, ladies, give us some resources for our Femme friends to continue to develop their communication styles both in the workspace and outside of it.
There's always going and taking the DISC personality style. That's a free one you can take online and learn there. We also reference a lot of work from the emotional intelligence done by Daniel Goleman. And then we also refer people to Brene Brown's website. She posts a lot of her resources for free. If you're looking for things to bring into your team, there are worksheets and ideas provided there.
And just a little plug for Prowess. I got to.
Do it.
We have this community of such talented women, and two of them have experience in behavioral science and empathy specifically. So they're creating a course for people to improve their leadership skills, especially empathy in this distributed remote world. I think a lot of people are talking about how do you work remote when it comes to, okay, wake up and eat breakfast and put clothes on, just like if you're going to the office. Okay, all that's fine and good and important, sure. But in reality, the most important thing about business are people and relationships, and EQ is how you do that. So we're helping people everywhere create and maintain relationships that they used to do face to face. Now it's between two screens and hundreds of thousands of miles away.
Excellent. Look forward to that.
Yeah. It's on pre-sale now.
Alrighty. Now, I don't know about y'all, but when I grew up, in school I was taught about the inventions created by men and pretty much only men. We learned about Alexander Graham inventing the telegram and how that furthered communication. However, I didn't learn that the first computer algorithm was invented by Ada Lovelace when she was messing around with the analytical engine. And if you don't know about the analytical engine, please go look it up. I remember being taught about the numerous inventions and discoveries of Ben Franklin. But I didn't hear about how Letitia Gear created the medical syringe or how Rosalind Franklin discovered the DNA double helix. For tea aficionados like myself, you might know that an American named Thomas Sullivan is responsible for the invention of the tea bag. What you might not know is that Melita Benz invented the coffee filter. My point is that despite what is said in James Brown's famous song, "This is a Man's World," women are responsible for many of the everyday objects and inventions that we interact with and benefit from on a daily basis. And on today's Femme Fact, I'd like to highlight a fun invention that has affected so many people's childhoods. Ladies, are y'all familiar with the board game Monopoly?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
So you're probably also familiar with the sensation of wanting to gouge your eyes out in frustration while playing it?
Yes, my husband loves this game and he has to win every time. This is triggering. Continue.
Good. Well, y'all have board game mastermind Elizabeth Maggie, who until around the 1970s had been lost to history as the creator of Monopoly.
I can't wait to tell him.
All right. Now, the history of Monopoly is most commonly traced back to the Great Depression, when a man named Charles Darrow supposedly was inspired to create a game built on the premise of building wealth during a time when many Americans were suffering through immense financial hardship. It was meant to be a catharsis from the bleak reality of the Great Depression, and this commonly accepted story is false. Sort of. Before Monopoly was Monopoly, it was originally a 1903 board game called The Landlord's Game, which was created and coined by Miss Elizabeth Lizzie Maggie. Lizzie was a self-described anti-monopolist, a writer, an engineer, and a feminist who wanted to create a game that would explain the single tax economic theory of Henry George. Naturally, right? I create a board game to explain tax theory. She created it as an educational tool to illustrate the negative aspects of concentrating land in private monopolies. Lizzie worked on developing her board game from 1903 all the way to the 1930s and patented this game in 1923, which is one of many patents that she held. The Landlord's Game did not become a huge hit initially, and very few people knew about it. One of those people who did was a Philadelphia man by the name of Charles Todd, and he was a fan. History has it that one day in 1932, Todd invited a childhood friend and her spouse, Esther and Charles Darrow, over for a dinner party in which Todd introduced this game to his friends. Charles Darrow, unfamiliar with the game prior to this party, became fascinated with it and its relevance to the economic climate at the time. And so it goes that Darrow asked Todd to write down the rules of the game, and then he went on to distribute the game himself, newly titled as Monopoly. Parker Brothers later bought the rights to this game from Charles Darrow, and they did learn that Darrow was not the original inventor of the game, and very quietly bought the rights to Maggie's patent for a whopping, and I'm not kidding, $500. And while the 1930s was a long time ago and $500 might have been a lot during the Great Depression, it is and was an insultingly low price tag, and no royalties, BTW. Long story short, one of the most popular and slightly traumatic board games in history was created by a woman named Lizzie Magie, not Charles Darrow. He just stole her ideas and took the credit, which, as the story goes, might still sound familiar to many of us today. So ladies, whether you're an inventor or an entrepreneur, a creative or an artist, or anywhere in between, your achievements, your IP, your creations, and your mind are worthy of recognition. Because of trailblazers like Lizzie, we are further empowered to take credit for ideas and to own our accomplishments. Ladies, as champions of empowering women and owning their creative spaces, I want to thank you both for your time and energy today. It has been an enlightening pleasure.
Thank you. We had a great time.
Thank you. This has been fantastic.
And to close out our episode, remember that you deserve credit for all the things you have done and will do in the future. So go out there and make sure you get it. And HERdacious will be here to help along the way. If you liked our show, please subscribe and share with a friend. And together, we will continue to forge new paths forward.